When you start building up a massive library of images, metadata becomes essential and very important. I'm here in Adobe Bridge, and if you take a look at the collection of images in your Assets folder, metadata will tell you more about the file. Metadata literally means extra data about the file that's written into the file. I'm going to go to a slightly different layout because my focus is on image editing. So if I hit Film Strip View, I get a lovely larger preview of the images in this folder. But I'm curious about where they were born. So I will go to Window and choose the Metadata panel. And with the Metadata panel, I like to dock it down here on the left so I still have room for large previews. I'll also hit Folders because I've collected for you images that were born on quite a few different camera types. If I take a look at this shot that I took years ago, firstly, I could see that I put myself in as the creator. I could see I have a title, what city and state I live in. I could see it was taken in 2005, and I could see it was taken with my old Canon PowerShot SD300. If I select this image in the last year, it was taken in December 2011, and it was taken on my new iPhone 4S, which has the ability to shoot in HDR, high dynamic range. So as you look at each image, you'll see the model and the make in the metadata panel, plus the original date created. In fact, I think I've made this generic for most of them, but smartphones actually write in GPS, global positioning information, and I tend to make this anonymous or a public location in San Francisco. As I take a look at other shots, I have a few images from my baby photographer that she's granted me permission to use. And you can see that these are raw images that have been corrected using the raw dialog. You can also see that she shoots with the Canon EOS 5D. Now there are Canon people and there are Nikon people, and it seems in my collection of images for Video to Brain, I came across more Nikon. But in the photography groups in San Francisco, that's a huge debate. It's kind of like Mac or Windows. You really have one that you prefer, and the opposite is something that you don't understand why people use. So looking at some Nikon shots, Dan, one of the U.S. managers here, went to Israel. And with his camera, he set it up to take RAW in the NEF, the Nikon proprietary RAW format, and at the same time JPEG. Now, it may be a little tricky to see, but instantly I notice when I click on the RAW how it's a little bit flatter, the colors aren't as vibrant. When I click on the JPEG, that is already baked into the camera. Sharpening is applied and your camera settings are permanently written in or applied to the file. So you could think of the JPEG like your print. However, you could think of the RAW as something forever editable and open-ended, so you can make far greater moves to the color and control the amount of sharpening and the detail manually or by hand, adjust the exposure, do all the things that a traditional photographer would do in the darkroom. On this image in Beautiful Images, the high key image, I actually put in the metadata in description a website for an article that every photographer should read, whether you're a hobbyist or high-end professional. I've got this open here, and it's Rendering the Print, The Art of Photography by Carl Lang. It's a few pages long, but it really explains the difference between JPEG and shooting in RAW. And there are debates on both sides. If you're a sports photographer, you have to shoot so many images and you can't really touch those. They go to the APY or the Associated Press instantly. So when those are uploaded, you don't have time on location to make corrections. You get your camera to the ideal shot and just pray you get the action shot that you want. So do take some time, read this article on your own, and it will do a far better job than I'm sure I will of explaining the depth and detail and power you get out of a raw image. Now, coming back to Bridge, I'm going to actually show you my workflow for importing camera images. So what I will do is plug in my camera card. Some cameras plug directly into the computer, and using Adobe Bridge, you can import them. I have just plugged my camera card in, and it will show up in a moment. There's my Nikon card. My images are stored here. I'll open the folder and do a Select All, Command A or Control A, and drag them to Camera Download. If you have a point and shoot camera, you might plug your camera or your phone directly in and choose File, Get Photos from Camera in Adobe Bridge. But my workflow is to copy all the contents of the card, and high-end photographers may be doing 4 or 5 or 6 cards for a specific shoot or a specific event. Once they're copied, I can use Adobe Bridge to go to the desktop and see my camera download. And as I look, I could see shots with different exposure settings that I took while here in Graz, and some other still shots of a hat, again with varying exposures. So I'll start by selecting these 4 and going to Tools, Batch Rename, and naming this Video to Brain, Graz. I don't typically do date created. I usually only do a sequence number starting at 1. And when there's less than 100 files, I do 2 digits. So I will click Rename. Now I will select the hats, click, Shift-click, Tools, Batch Rename, name them hats. And once I hit Rename, now I have useful file names that I can apply metadata to. So I will do a Select All, Command A or Control A in the content area. And you could actually just type information here with all of these pencil fields, the editable fields. But I've built a template. So when I choose Append Metadata from the panel menu here, I've got one for my company, OLI. I choose OLI, and then I deselect and select just one to make sure it applied, and it wrote me in as the creator, my title, and so on. With these, I may also want to select and add a description or keyword. Grunge, green, hat, cross, logo. And then keywords, hat, green, sparkles, grunge. You're only as good as your keywords and descriptions when you build up massive image libraries because you need them to be searchable. Bridge can search thousands or millions of images simply by hitting it up here and going to the folder that contains all of your images, or the folder where you think the file you want may be. I'm going to hit Don't Show Again, and yes, apply the metadata to all the selected hats. And when I hit Apply and click away and click on one, you'll see all the description has been written in. So give batch renaming and applying metadata a shot on your own as you import or copy your images to your computer.